Good evening. The boss of Jaguar Land Rover has issued a stark warning today over the dangers of what he called a bad Brexit deal. Britain's biggest car manufacturer said a no-deal scenario could cost it more than £1 billion and put tens of thousands of jobs at risk. Addressing the Zero-Emission Vehicle Summit in Birmingham, the Prime Minister tried to reassure the motor industry with a pledge to invest more than £100 million for battery and low-carbon technology. Well, earlier I spoke to JLR's Chief Executive Ralph Speth and began by asking him about the challenges the industry faces over the mass rollout of electric vehicles in the UK.
Electric vehicles and the rollout also to the masses means also two elements. First of all, it has to be achievable, so the price tag has to be lower. At the moment, electric vehicle, based on the high prices for the internal electrified propulsion system, the prices are too high. And secondly, it means convenience. We need more charging stations. At the moment, the UK has around about 17,000 and only 1,700 thereof are fast charging, DC chargers. That means for a mass rollout, at the very moment, the infrastructure is not prepared.
Obviously, the Jaguar I-Pace is being built in Austria at the moment because you didn't have the capacity here in the UK. Can you ever see a position where you actually will be building electric vehicles here in the UK?
The I-Pace is indeed the very first premium battery electric vehicle in the market. And it shows that a small team, that in the UK there is a creativity to do something special. And yes, I can see that we will also produce battery electric vehicles in the UK if the conditions are right, if we get a good productivity, if we have the right, let's say, environment to invest again in the UK.
You said in July that a bad Brexit deal, as you termed it, would cost you £1.2 billion. Is that still your view?
Yes, it is, and by the way, it's quite open. Everybody can calculate this kind of figure, and by the way, 1.2 billion only means just for Jaguar Land Rover, without any burden of the supplier industry. And so it's a huge figure, and it's really a challenge for Jaguar Land Rover. At the end of the day, that 10,000s of people are on risk if we don't find a good solution, the right solution for Brexit.
You're just about to start production of the Discovery in Slovakia. Does that Slovakian investment represent in any way a hedge against a hard Brexit?
At the end of the day, we are British. We are an absolutely British company and we want to stay here. That is our home. On the other hand, we have to have an operational footprint around the world. And so it's important that the next step to Europe, the market which represents around about 25% of all our sales, that we are closer to customers. And therefore we have built up and will inaugurate the new plant end of September.
Do you worry about your supply chains in the event of a no-deal Brexit? Could there be potential blockages?
If there were blockages, then I'm very, very concerned. We are producing around about 3,000 vehicles in the UK, and that means we use on a daily basis around about 25 million parts, and they come just in time. So if one part is not at the right time, on the right position next to the assembly line, we are facing a challenge. And that would mean if I have stopped the production, it's every day £60 million.
And in terms of the Brexit deal that the Prime Minister wants with the EU, are you satisfied with her Chequers proposals?
At the end of the day, I cannot tell you what kind of details are in the Chequer proposal. But I can turn it around and say what we really need is in principle free, open, frictionless trade for goods, but also for people. We need the skills on the one hand side, we need the lorry drivers, and we need services so that we can really also produce the vehicles with the right means.
And what would be your message to those members of Mrs May's own party who are threatening to vote down the Chequers proposals?
I don't know what alternative they are really proposing, and I'm not political, so I cannot give these people an answer. I only can repeat, we need free and fair trade we export more than 80% of our vehicles. And it's not only Jaguar Land Rover, and I don't talk about Jaguar Land Rover or about myself. It's a question of the people in the country. It's a question of manufacturing. They have to think about the people in manufacturing. They have to also accept that the UK cannot live from financial services and or services alone. We need manufacturing in this country.
Some of the supporters of Brexit have argued that JLR would actually benefit from a no-deal Brexit because you'd be able to import car parts from around the world on WTO terms just as easily as you would do currently from the EU.
I don't know how this would work, but I can tell you we don't benefit from any Brexit, which is hard or no Brexit whatsoever.